The fall equinox has a very beautiful energy of transition, of change, of transformation, of rebirth, of also introspection, going within. And so this very high voltage day on September the 22nd at 8:44 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to reach the exact moment that summer ends and fall begins. And the equinoxes, both the spring and the fall equinox, represent a complete balance and a complete harmony between light and dark. Because we're going to have exactly 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of nighttime, or 12 hours of darkness. And when the energies balance out in this beautiful, harmonious way, we are asked to connect to balance within ourselves, to balance out whatever is not in balance within ourselves. And we are meant to look at how we are out of balance at this time, what needs to shift and change in order for us to come back into more harmony within the masculine and the feminine within the self, the light and the dark, and how are these opposite energies in balance or not in balance within us. The fall equinox is a highly spiritual event, even though most people don't give it much thought, or most people, I think, are just very tapped into sort of the mundane meaning behind fall, and we start thinking pumpkin spice lattes and pumpkins and Halloween, and the mind already starts moving forward and thinking ahead about Christmas and shopping and gifts and Thanksgiving and all this stuff, right? And so it's like we get into preparation mode, but in sort of focused on the wrong things, right? Because what the fall equinox is truly about, and what this transition of season is truly about, is the season in your own life. The spiritual evolution in your own life is now changing seasons. It's now moving into another phase of development. And so the fall equinox is a harvest time. This is the time to look at how you have matured, how you have grown, how you have changed and shifted throughout the summer season or throughout the entire year so far, right? It's like an accumulation point. And where does growth still need to happen? Where can you honestly address and admit or look at where you still need to grow? What still needs to change, or what needs to shift or pivot in your life in order for you to feel more happy, more joyful, and more fulfilled? So the equinoxes and the solstices, every season change, illuminates our own spiritual journey. It illuminates the stages of our inner journey and how we are developing as individuals, as personalities, how we are improving upon ourselves or how we are not. And that's what every change in season is meant to reflect within us. And it's what we're meant to introspect, to look inward about and figure out, how have I changed? How do I still need to change? And what is the wisdom that I have accumulated from all of the growth that I did over the summer or over the last year even? And when we begin to align ourselves with the seasons, and we consciously start to realize and connect how when the seasons in nature change, the season in our own life changes as well. The more that you start to align with that and start to connect with that, the more conscious you start to become of your own life's cycles. You start to notice how things shift in your life, how some things like relationships are seasonal, for example. There are definitely certain connections, even soulmate connections, even karmic connections, or any type of partnership or any type of relationship for that matter, are seasonal. Some last many, many seasons, and others last only a couple of seasons because that's all they're meant to last for. So certain things in our lives are meant to only last a certain number of seasons, and we're meant to extract learning while that thing is in our life. We're meant to learn through those seasons. So these cycles, these changing of seasons, remind us of the process of learning that we're continuously moving through. From the moment you were born until the day you die, you will be continuously moving through these cycles of learning, of death and rebirth, of recalibrating yourself, transmuting energy, overcoming yourself in different ways, moving you closer and closer to self-mastery. That is the purpose of life for most, like for everyone. We're all moving towards self-mastery. And so it's taking a look at and getting clarity on what each cycle is teaching you, where it is guiding you, and what is it trying to illuminate within you. The fall equinox and the spring equinox, they both represent the balance of light and dark. It's about honoring the balance of light and dark within the self. It's about loving and respecting it. It's about not being hard on yourself because maybe you see more darkness, but that could also be an illusion. Oftentimes we tend to see ourselves to be worse than we actually are. And so can you look at the darkness and the light within yourself right now? Particularly on Sunday, take a little time to reflect on that maybe, and figure out where you're at. And when the seasons change, when we literally go from the very last minute of summer to the first minute of fall, as we have this little bridging of the energies and this coming together, the meeting of those two energies, the fire, the heat of summer, and then the coolness or the water that the fall season represents. When hot and cold come together up in the heavens, what happens? We get lightning. And so this moment, this culmination of energy as summer ends and fall begins, there is this lightning type, this highly charged energetic electricity that can be felt on the day of the solstice. It's very important for us to consciously link our personal human cycles to the cycles of nature as well, because when we do that, we actually become so much more aware of the cycles that are in our own lives, right? Think about all the seasons of your life. There's always a season for things actually going really, really well, and then you're going to notice there's like a season or a period of like hardship where all of a sudden things get a bit more challenging, and then challenges kind of come over and over and over, and then maybe that season sort of ends or phases out, and then you move into like another period of lightness where things are good again and flowing and feeling better, and you're like, okay, whew, I can finally take a breather, right? And then maybe you'll start, and who knows, like that season could last for quite a long time for you, and then all of a sudden maybe another heavier season comes, right? These are the rhythms and the cycles that our lives follow, that our lives are completely attuned to, right? It can't be good all the time, and it can't be bad all the time. We are living in duality. We live in a world of light and dark, left and right and wrong, right? Masculine, feminine. So because we live in such a duality-based world, our life is also very much interwoven into duality, and we experience highs and we experience lows in our life, and that is normal. And the equinoxes remind us of that. They remind us that, you know, the bad doesn't last forever, but the good doesn't last forever either. They remind us to maintain balance, to maintain harmony, to not take for granted each season that we have. Don't be pessimistic and hard on yourself and pissed at the world and pissed at God because you're going through a bad season. And don't be overly egotistical and thinking like, yeah, I'm the shit and like everything's going good when you're in a good season. It's about just learning balance, learning to appreciate both the dark and the light within your life, and learning to really honor and respect the time, the length that each season takes. Because when you consciously can appreciate anything that you're moving through, whether that's good experiences or not so good experiences, when you can appreciate all of it, that's when you come into significant harmonious alignment with the natural cycles, with your own divine cycle. And that's when you can create and manifest a very, very beautiful life for yourself. So there are 4 main themes of this fall equinox that I want to talk about. And the very first theme that I was actually already touching on is the season of balance and learning. So when the fall equinox hits, when we reach the first day of fall, we are reminded of the need to balance light and dark within our lives. We are meant to reflect on how we have or don't have balance within the dark and light parts of our lives. We are meant to acknowledge and appreciate the times of darkness, because we are now moving into a season of darkness where the light diminishes more and more each day. Can you appreciate what the darkness offers? How much solitude and peace and quiet is within the darkness? And that certain shadow aspects of yourself that are dark, things that you don't like about yourself, that they are also a part of your journey. They are what teach you and guide you back to the light, to choose more of the light and to choose more of embodying the light. So the darkness is incredibly necessary. So this is about accepting the darker parts of your journey and not putting them lower, not making them less valuable just because they're challenging and just because they're hard. This is also about looking at the shadow within yourself and recognizing and being honest about what you still need to work on within yourself. What is it within you that is still shadow, that you know is shadow? And what steps are you going to take to work on it over the fall season, over the winter season, during these periods of darkness when we are meant to be introspective, when we are meant to go within ourselves? And so this change of season is reminding us that darkness is always followed by light and that the dark periods don't last. It's reminding you that there is light at the end of the tunnel. So if you are moving through a dark tunnel at the moment and you feel like everything is hard or everything is falling apart, allow it to fall apart. Allow things to disassemble, because it most likely needs to be reassembled. And that disassembling and reassembling structures within ourselves, within our belief systems, within our minds, within our hearts, within our energy fields, that restructuring is what you do while you're moving through the tunnel. Why do you think it sucks? Why do you think it's hard? And why do you think nobody likes to move through the dark tunnel? Because you usually have to do this on your own. You can certainly get a guide, a spiritual guide, to help you with this. This is what I do. This is how I support people. I help them move through their dark tunnels, and I show them the light at the end that they're working towards. And I encourage people to stay positive while they are moving through that dark tunnel, because when you get to that light, the whole world is going to look different. Because you yourself have now moved through a deep, dark transformation, and you yourself are different. Your perspective is going to change about yourself, how you see the world, how you see the way everything is operating, everything is functioning, how our systems are working or not working. There will be clarity. So there's always a difficult period that we must move through, and this equinox reminds us of that the difficulties don't last. They are only meant to teach you, to make you wiser. So reflect on any challenges that you have had this year or even previous years, especially any challenges that hit home hard enough that you had a difficult time letting it go. Reflect on those challenges and try to look for something positive, if not one, several positive outcomes as a result of you moving through that challenge. What did you learn from it? What did you understand from it? How did you become a better person as a result of it? Did you become stronger? Did you become wiser? Did you become more discerning? Like, how did you change? How did that transform you in a positive way? Take a look at these challenges over the past year, because when you reflect back on it, you're going to start to really see and appreciate that, like, wow, I needed to move through that. Wow, I needed to have that experience with that person, because it taught me boundaries, taught me how to assert my boundaries. It taught me how to become a stronger individual, be more in my conviction. It taught me how to follow through on my values more. So look for the light in the challenges and the darkness that you have experienced so far up until this point in time throughout this year. And I would really recommend that you journal on that, write these things down. It's really incredible. When I read back on my journal entries from like even last year before, the amount of stuff I moved through that I have like tangible evidence of, because I wrote down all the different things, because we forget a lot of things, right? And I wrote down all the different experiences and the different people that they were connected to and what I learned and how I moved through that. It's incredible. Like, it's mind-blowing how much we change and we transform, especially when you document it. So just remind yourself that whatever circumstance you're in right now that maybe you do not like, these circumstances are not permanent, and ask yourself what you can do about it to improve the situation, to make it better. Every single experience, and I'm personally speaking right now, every single experience that I've ever moved through, I have come to realize, and in the moment I was experiencing it or moving through it, I didn't realize. But now in hindsight, I have come to see that the seed of light and darkness is inherently encoded in every experience we have. There is always some light and some darkness in every experience. Can you see that? Do you recognize the balance that it actually carries within itself, and how those experiences were necessary to teach you something really valuable, to grow you, to mature you in some way, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically? And since I'm on a personal note here, I just want to share too that everything that I have experienced and gone through in previous years, there has been such tremendous transformation as a result of those experiences. They forced me to outgrow versions of myself that I didn't really like to begin with, versions of myself that I wasn't happy with. They have matured my emotional responses to difficult situations, to difficult people. So how I respond now to something or someone that is challenging is completely different from how I used to respond and emotionally just get so triggered. And now I don't get triggered. I'm able to see above the situation. Like, I just see it from a bird's eye view, and I get a completely different read on every given situation. But the amount of stuff I left behind, like people pleasing, worrying about what people think, that used to be huge for me. I could care less now, because it's not even a care thing. It's just, it doesn't matter, because I have learned that what is most important in life is what I think about myself. Not about what you think about me, or the next person thinks about me, or what my mom thinks about me, or whoever. It's what I think about myself. That is the most important thing, because I have to live with myself. You have to live with yourself within your mind. So how you think and feel about yourself is the most valuable, most important thing. And I want to touch on abandonment for a moment, because I know the abandonment wound is very, very strong in the collective. It is very common within the collective energy field of this planet. So many people, so many of us struggle with abandonment and experiencing abandonment. And I had this very weird, very unexpected thing happen where I carried the abandonment wound. And in order for me to see the abandonment wound I was carrying, and in order for me to see that shadow within myself, it had to be triggered. And I had to be triggered like over and over and over until it got to the point where I was like bursting, like I couldn't handle it anymore. And it was just basically it brought me to my knees. And so when I experienced being abandoned over and over and over from the masculine, it forced me to see, first of all, that I had an abandonment wound. It forced me to see how I respond to the abandonment wound, how incredibly triggered I was, how much of a victim I was. And it forced me to overcome the abandonment wound. It forced me to love myself, because the overcoming part came about from loving myself. So I had to pour into myself and love myself so much, so deeply, so authentically, that it was overflowing, that my self-love started to overflow. My cup overrunneth with my own personal self-love. And the more that I poured into this cup and filled it and filled it and filled it, because it was empty, it was depleted. I was in my masculine energy for a really long time, so I was very, very used to giving, and I really sucked at receiving. And because of that imbalance within myself is what kind of created the abandonment wound, right? It constantly, energetically, it's like I was constantly repelling men that were loving, supportive, and I was attracting men that wanted to take from me because I was already so excessively in that giving energy. And so once I started to pour into myself, start loving myself, start recognizing my value and who I really was, and I started to get to know Kata on a very deep, personal, spiritual level, that is when I was able to transmute and to completely eliminate and heal from my abandonment wound. And I'm sharing this because, again, this is such a common issue in the collective. I see it with the clients I work with all the time, that almost everybody carries an abandonment wound in one form or another. And so this fall equinox is also helping us to realize that we carry these things. Again, it's about looking at the shadow, what is within, what do you feel like a victim about, and processing that, diving deep into it. Why do I feel this way? And what am I not giving to myself that I'm always seeking externally? So every time I wanted somebody else to show me love, or somebody else to show me that I was worthy, or somebody else to show me that I was of value, I wanted those things because I wasn't feeling them within myself, because I didn't know how to love myself, how to give myself love, how to see my own value, how to recognize my worth. So I know I'm going a little deep here, but these are the things that I learned through the process of moving through my shadow, of the process of balancing out the light and the dark within myself. So I had to learn to give myself everything that I had ever expected, hoped for, wished for, or wanted from another. And when you start to give yourself all of those things that you're always expecting from other people, and then getting disappointed when you're not getting it, and you're not getting it, by the way, because you don't know how to give it to yourself, so energetically you're actually repelling what you want. But when you start to give yourself all of those things, your experiences, your life experiences change, because you're no longer energetically putting out this deflection. You're no longer pushing things away from you that the universe actually wants to give you and wants to deliver to you, because now you're open. And you're open because you're not needy. You're not in this desperate energy anymore. You're just at peace, and you're good, and you feel good because you pour into yourself, and you love yourself, and you value yourself, you recognize yourself, you acknowledge yourself, you validate yourself. Because that's the other thing, is we're always looking for external validation. We're also always looking for instant gratification. You don't need any of those things. Start validating yourself. And release instant gratification. You don't need to get the prize now. The prize will come. Just keep working towards it. The second theme of the fall equinox is a season of change, death, and transformation. So this is a chance for you to reflect on what you have, what you've accomplished, what needs to balance out at this time, and what needs to be transformed. So it's about going within yourself, going quiet, and making space. Like what needs to change, what needs to clear out, what needs to die, what needs to fall away. We call it fall for a reason. What needs to fall away from your life at this time that is holding you back, that is not allowing you to be authentic, that is not allowing you to be fully in your power, or that takes away from your power? Who are the people? What is the job or the circumstance or the living place or whatever it is for you that you intuitively know, it's a feeling that you have, that it's just holding you back in some kind of way? Like you're not happy, you're not satisfied, you just feel like, it's not quite what I want, like this isn't really it. So what is that? Who is that in your life? And can you give yourself permission to let it go? Can you find the strength and the courage within yourself to release it? And can you do that because you love yourself? Because you know what your values are and you know that you deserve something better. So while these things can be very challenging, and again, from personal experience, I know what it means to cut people out. I know what it means to cut things out of our lives. It can be very challenging, especially if it's someone or something that you're really used to, that really feeds your comfort zone, that really kind of keeps you in your comfort zone. You know, we call it a comfort zone for a reason. Like it's just this cushy place you want to stay in because nothing ever really happens there. It's always just the same. Nothing really changes. But because the season is changing, it is asking you, can you now transition out? And can you now change seasons also? Can you move out of that comfort zone and move into a new season? Yes, it's unknown. Yes, it's unfamiliar. Yes, it is something that you've never done before, maybe. But can you just go for it? Can you try it? Can you allow yourself to experience it, to see what is on the other side of that? So there's a huge theme of letting go. There's a huge theme of allowing things to fall away and to be swept out of your life at this time. And this isn't just physical things. This isn't just people. This could also be a mentality. This could also be perception, the way you see things. This could also be limitation within the mind, subconscious patterns, habits. Really reflect on comfort zone. That's like the key word here, is reflect on comfort zone right now and ask yourself, what am I doing repetitively that keeps me in my comfort zone? That doesn't allow me to transition past it. That I just kind of keep doing even though I know I shouldn't be doing. What is that thing? And can you put more effort and more discipline behind it to eliminate it? So it's a time to compost your old ideas, beliefs, perspectives, attitudes, assumptions, so that you can make space. Clear out all that old stuff and make space for fresh ideas, fresh perspectives, new beliefs, new positive beliefs. The assumption part, just eliminate that altogether. You should never assume anything about anyone. One of the 4 agreements of life is don't assume anything ever. So release the assumptions altogether, but the other ones can be transformed. And can you free up that energy that you were investing in those previous things? All that energy that is now going to be freed up, can you use that as the foundation for your soil, to make your soil fertile for fresh seeds to bloom and to blossom? The next theme for this fall equinox is a season of harvest. This is the season of harvest, which I mentioned already. And we are not only harvesting the fruits and vegetables from our gardens or the corn or whatever else, we are also harvesting spiritual lessons. This is a harvest time of reaping the rewards of inner work that you have done. So where within you have you grown, and what harvest is going to come in as a result of that growth? Or perhaps you have already experienced and have already harvested some of the positive outcomes of your growth. This is about reaping rewards for previous efforts. So this could be projects, things that you've been working on throughout the year that are now reaching a culmination point, that are now reaching a point of either it's being prepared to be launched or it's being prepared to be put out to the world. And then the harvest that comes, the rewards that come from that will start pouring in now. And this is also whatever intentions you set throughout the year for your life and for like the remainder of the year. Those intentions could now also begin to show up for you in different ways, as opportunities, as sudden shifts in, a living location or work or a relationship. Like there's a lot of different shifts that are also going to be coming in for people at this time. So the law of balance and the law of compensation are most definitely inherently in this fall equinox energy. And that's why I'm saying doing ritual right at the exact time of the ending of summer and beginning of fall is so incredibly powerful, because you're tapping into this energy. You're tapping into this energy of growth, of balance, of compensation, and it's like you're just allowing it to come to you. There's no resistance. You're not pushing it away. You're just open to receive. And this season is about receiving, because the summer season is action, is yang. The summer season is a masculine energy. It is a season of doing a lot of action, right? And in the fall season it's all about receiving, yin energy. So we're moving into this energy of yin, from masculine to feminine and into receiving mode. Are you open? Are you still overly in your masculine? Are you open to receiving? Can you allow yourself, doesn't matter male or female, what you are, can you allow yourself to be in receiving mode, to be more in your feminine, to give to yourself more, whatever it is that you need, to allow others to give to you, and just to allow things to come to you, opportunities, money, prizes I'm hearing, like, I don't know, all kinds of different things. The third theme is a season of reflection. So this is a time where we begin to go inward. That introspection is about reflection. It's about reflecting back, looking back at how the year went, looking back at, everything that's transpired over this past year, perhaps everything that transpired over the last few years for you. If you've moved through a lot of change, this is a very good time to reflect upon all of those changes that you moved through and experienced, and kind of get a feel for where you are now. Like really kind of tapping into, where am I right now in this moment? Can you acknowledge how far you have come? Acknowledge how much you have learned. Acknowledge your growth and your expansion. And acknowledge that you are a natural being moving through a very organic process of life. Just acknowledging that your life moves through these cycles, as I mentioned, of death, rebirth, growth cycle, harvest cycles, right? There's all these cycles we're constantly moving through, and reflecting upon these cycles and noticing like, hey, I just finished a cycle of like growth actually. That was very deep. That was very intense. And, now I feel like I'm in a cycle of rest. Maybe I'm giving myself more permission to relax, to go with the flow, to trust myself more. Now that I've done all this learning, all this growing, I can really just take a little pause, move into a season of more self-care and self-love and giving to myself, to reward myself for all the work that I have done maybe throughout the summer season. So as the days get shorter and shorter and we have less and less light, and that darkness really comes around a lot earlier than we would like it to, take a moment to also reflect on your own shadow, to reflect on your ego and your subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind can be tricky to reflect on because it's subconscious, right? You can't be conscious and subconscious at the same time. So the way I tap into my subconscious mind is through meditation. I quiet my conscious mind to allow my subconscious mind to speak. That's when the little door opens and I start to get messages, I get awareness, I get realizations, aha moments, all kinds of things can start flooding through from the subconscious when the conscious goes quiet. And so it's a time for that as well, that introspection, tapping into the ego, recognizing like, ooh, what are my ego's attachments still? What does it still really want to hang on to? What is it that it's still really addicted to? Is it control? Is it always wanting to know 20 steps ahead? Is it always really just holding the steering wheel too tight? You know what I'm saying? And not allowing things to flow more in my life. Because every time that you become more aware of your ego, your shadow, your darkness, you are actually, what happens is you are illuminating your subconscious mind, you're reprogramming your subconscious mind, you're clearing it out, you're making space. And the more you clear out the subconscious mind and heal all the wounds and all the different trappings of the subconscious mind, like the false beliefs and the false narratives and the false stories that it stores, right? And the ego produces, and like the victim mentality and lack mentality, all of that. As you start to clear these out more and more, your inner light, your conscious light actually becomes brighter. So picture it like a light bulb within your mind, within your heart, and that light bulb gets brighter and brighter the more you shed. The more awareness you have, the more you realize where you trip yourself up. And final theme is a season of gratitude. This is also a season of receiving. So gratitude and receiving are going hand in hand. I touched on receiving before, but Spirit is kind of asking me to touch on that again. There is definitely a receiving, because as I mentioned, lack, that's when it was triggered. And I heard, we need to talk about the fact that light and dark being equal and being in balance within nature is representing how we also need to come back into balance when it comes to our finances and when it comes to the lack mentality. So it's very, very important right now to clear out lack mentality from the subconscious mind. And you can do a lot of different meditations and different things to clear that out and tap into the harvest. Can you tap into this energy of abundance, right? Because the fall is about harvesting. So let's harvest coins, let's harvest gold, let's harvest food, let's harvest everything, right? Can you push lack mentality out of the way, see it for what it truly is, that it is nothing more than an illusion? And can you be open to receiving so much more? And can you open that door to receiving through gratitude? The gratitude practice for me is like a daily thing. Like I absolutely cannot go a day without thanking the universe for everything that I have, everything that I am, everything that is unfolding in my life, and how wonderful everything is. It's like I can't without blessing my food. I can't do that. I bless my food every meal. I express gratitude for that meal every single day, every single meal. These are practices that reprogram your subconscious mind. This is how you eliminate lack mentality. There is so much available on this planet. There is so many resources. There is so much abundance, so much prosperity that is available to us. And this season change is asking you to open yourself up to that, because the floodgates, I'm seeing floodgates just want to open and pour into your life. So if you're someone that has been maybe putting in a lot of work, maybe you've been doing a lot of internal spiritual work and overcoming a lot of difficult things within yourself, and you're still struggling on the financial side of things, well, Spirit is saying to you, open yourself up to that now, because the fruits of your labor are trying to come in. They want to come into your life. Can you allow it? Can you open yourself up to that? And that can come through the form of love from another. That can come through the form of job opportunities or being hired for different things or whatever, however you work, right? But there's just so much available with this fall equinox energy, and all you have to do is be open to it, to receive it, to allow it in. So shift your consciousness from a state of lack into one of absolute abundance and prosperity. And can you shift your consciousness into a space of gratitude and being expressive out loud every day, having a gratitude practice of some kind every single day, and just tuning in and saying, thank you for this, thank you for my health, thank you for the roof over my head, thank you for food in my fridge. The more that we are in gratitude and, again, personal experience, the more miracles literally just unfold in my life. Why? Because I'm programming my entire subconscious mind, my entire vibration to be in receiving mode. This is how I brought myself back from being overly masculine into the feminine. This is how I'm continually working on balancing that feminine side and allowing myself to receive, allowing things to come in for me, to be in my feminine energy, to be in receiving mode. And I see men who actually really struggle with being. I was just working with a client earlier today who is so excessively in his masculine that the poor guy is like, his nervous system is like on the fritz from it. You know, it needs to be brought back into balance. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female. This overly masculine, constantly doing, constantly giving, constantly just in motion and never being is toxic. It is unhealthy. And so the season change reminds you, come back into balance, come back into harmony, come back to your feminine side and nurture that. Allow receiving, allow yourself to shift out of lack and into prosperity and abundance. Believe it. Believe that you are worthy. This is why connecting to yourself, knowing yourself on a deep level is so incredibly important. If you don't know who you are, you don't know what your values are, you don't know what you're worthy of, and you're disconnected completely from yourself. And you will constantly look for everything and anything outside of you, to validate who you are. So I'd like to share the very simple ritual with you that I mentioned earlier to do on the day of the equinox on September the 22nd, when the two seasons come together, meet to exchange energy and to swap each other out, where all you do is you go outside somewhere in nature, in your backyard, wherever, sit on the ground, and you completely tune in to the natural world. That means you pay attention to the sounds that you hear. So just focus on the sounds of nature. If you can feel or hear the wind, listen to the wind, tune your attention into it. Listen to the birds, the crickets, whatever it is you're hearing, and you just tune in to the natural world. And for that 30 minutes, as you're tuning into the natural world, you are recalibrating yourself, your entire body, your entire system is being recalibrated, updated. You're receiving an update for the new season. And you are also going to get a lot of insight, grounding. There's a settling of energy, like I'm feeling like a calmness and a peace. So it's like, can you move into this new season being really centered, being grounded, being in your heart space, out of the head, out of the conscious mind, and just taking in whatever information, insights, awareness, ideas, whatever wants to come through for you, you just allow it to come through. So it's sitting quietly for 30 minutes or longer if you want to, and tap in and tune into the energy to see what comes through for you. And what I also do when I'm tuned in is, at this moment of exact, perfect balance of light and dark, I also express gratitude for who I am, for everything that I can feel in that moment around me. I acknowledge the personal growth that has taken place within me. And I just ask Mother Earth and Father Sky to make harmony and balance the foundation, the fertilizer within my soil, within the foundation of my life. So that way I'm entering a new season with this energy and with the intention, like talk about setting an intention, to make harmony and balance your foundation for the next season, for the next cycle of your life. You immediately align to that. You immediately tap into that because you've set that intention. You've put that information into the universe energetically. This way you activate your new cycle of growth that is just about to begin with more harmony, more peace, more balance. And so therefore you get hopefully less challenging lessons, less challenges to experience, because you yourself are more in harmony. We don't need to be challenged to death when we're in harmony. And during this ritual, it's an excellent time to just visualize yourself at that next level. What does that look like? What does that feel like in the moment? What are you doing? How are you supporting others? What is that greater vision of yourself and of your life that you are tapping into in that moment? The heart of spiritual practice is internal, right? So it's invisible, it's unnoticed by everyone else, by anyone outside of you. Spiritual practices are a very internal process. And so by doing a physical ritual where you bring that internal process outside of you and you do a physical ritual, like sitting outside, you make your spiritual practice and you're making that energy, that internalized energy, external. And so therefore you're like solidifying it, you're anchoring it into the physical material world. That is what the purpose of ritual is to bring these internal spiritual processes outside, to bring them into the material world, into the physical world. And so using different physical tools, burning sage, burning Palo Santo, using crystals, connecting with crystals, grounding, all these different things are just solidifying that energy in your energy field, in your bubble. So it just makes you more of that, if that makes any sense. It's like you're physically embodying your spirituality. So that is the purpose of the ritual. If you want to do it, if you're interested in doing that, I would highly recommend you give it a try. It is truly a beautiful process. It's very insightful. I think you're going to get a lot out of it. And because we're in this energy of making space, fasting, I have been getting repeatedly as a message from Spirit to fast. Fast during equinoxes. It's a very, very good time to purge the body, to allow things to balance out within the body, right? And so giving things a break, giving your digestive system a break is going to be very helpful and will be amplified. It's like balance and harmony can come into your physicality more when you do a fast on a equinox or on a solstice versus just doing a fast, whatever, any random day of the week, right? So I highly encourage you during this fall equinox to really connect with your life cycles, really connect with your own personal spiritual cycles and your cycles of growth and development, to honor your own light within yourself, to acknowledge the light that is within you, that you are a spark of God, like each and every single one of us is, and to honor the wisdom that comes from the cycles of the earth, to honor the wisdom that has been around for thousands of years that the native people connected to and followed. It's honoring your connection to this beautiful divine planet that is floating in this beautiful divine universe. And you're saying to the universe by acknowledging and honoring that, yes, I am a part of this. And yes, I belong here. And yes, I have a positive contribution to offer. And as a final thought, I just want to leave you with this understanding of how much you matter and how you live, how you connect to your own spirit, because our planet is standing on the precipice of a massive change, of a huge shift. We've already been moving through this shift for quite some time. I think most people are quite aware of it now. And so each of us has a very big decision, a very big choice to make. How are we going to show up? How are you going to show up and participate in the evolution of this planet in the evolution of your own soul, because that's where it starts, in the evolution of humanity to move us back to oneness, to move us back to balance and to harmony. You know, and that's a decision that you got to make for yourself, just as it is a decision I need to make for myself. And I would like to leave you with a very beautiful quote that I came across the other day that I really wanted to share with you. And the quote says, "I honor the light in you, that is the love of all things. Without your existence, the light of the universe would dim, and all of existence would miss you." Take in that quote, listen to it again. You would truly, truly be missed if your light was not in this world right now at this time. So connect to that light, see it within yourself, and recognize how important you actually are. This is my fall equinox message to you, to humanity. Thank you so much for watching. If you resonated with this message, hit a like on your way out and join the community by hitting the subscribe button. Leave a comment, share your thoughts, your feelings on this transition of season, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.